Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's us from Twin Shores Capital. I'm Alex Kaminer. This is Tim Nihil and Alex Krieger, and we are going to be giving you our bi-monthly market update. I hope everyone's having a good start to their August. And Tim, what do you have to start this off?
Yeah. First of all, this is sponsored by Vitamin Water today. We appreciate the work that they do. Yeah, it's a joke. So yeah, I mean, from a market update perspective, why don't we, how about I cover the traditional markets and what we've seen over the past week and a half, and then
Right. Another thing is, forgot to mention that everything that you hear here is not financial advice, but instead educational and is meant for discussion.
right, absolutely. If you trade on it, it's not our liability. Is basically the crux of that. You can thank attorneys for that one. I'll give a short market update and we'll kick it off to you guys to cover the crypto stuff, because I think right now I think the crypto markets and digital asset markets are about to run again, which is pretty exciting. The traditional wealth management, asset management side, what we're seeing is a lot of the same crap. The Federal Reserve raised the rates in the past week, 75 basis points versus 100. It's kind of like Seinfeld, yada, yada, yada. I had the lobster bisque, if you remember that episode. And I think the biggest thing that's happening right now is the lawsuit that's going on with the traders from JP Morgan, as they have been brought to trial on spoofing. Spoofing is basically creating fake trades in order to manipulate markets, and they've done it specifically in the commodities market with gold and silver. This is a really big deal because if we can get rid of the market manipulation, which JP Morgan is at the top of the list of doing, they manipulate the gold and silver markets more than anyone in the world. I think I saw over 40% of transactions flow through them, trades flow through them, right? So I think this is a big deal, because if these practices are brought to an end, gold and silver will be able to really realize their true prices. It's a lot higher, and they're a lot higher than what we're currently seeing. And it's not just manipulation from JP Morgan, but also the Federal Reserve Bank, and using DXY, the index, to, play with the dollar. And anyways, long story short, if you own gold and silver and commodities, I think starting at the end of this, moving into fall, into early next year, and then beyond, I think these commodities and gold and silver are really going to take off. So if they're allowed to run and they're allowed to do what they do, anyone out there holding them, you should have a pretty good winter, pretty good summer, and you'll be pretty happy with those holdings. Other than that, it's same old. Saw an interesting interview with Brian Moynihan, who's the head of Bank of America and Merrill Lynch, and really Merrill Lynch is now Bank of America. We all know what happened. Bank of America had to eat Merrill Lynch and save them in 2008. And, Merrill Lynch is now nothing more than a banking program. But some of the interesting things that they focused on was on their wealth management side. I think we're getting to the point where, as much as the Federal Reserve Bank in this country are raising rates, they're also injecting liquidity in the system at the same time. So we're probably looking at high prices, high inflation, and we're going to let the markets run again. So it's kind of a very interesting dynamic where, in order to keep the markets going, you just can't tighten, and they can't tighten as much as they want. So they're going to say, hey, we tried. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the markets are going to start to rip again across the board. And I think risk on is gonna be pretty heavy starting end of August into September. So as much as we've seen this market correction and the S&P 500 dipping and technology dipping and all that jazz, I don't think it's going to last much longer. Maybe 3 months, maybe 6, we'll see. But that's pretty much what we're seeing on the traditional asset management side.
It's a question that I think a lot of people are going to have, especially these last 2 weeks, is in history, we've seen that a recession is technically defined as 2 down quarters. And now we're saying that that's not the case. So what are your thoughts behind that?
Well, we're the definition of recession has been redefined. There's midterm elections coming up.
Right.
Here's the crux of it. You're in a recession. You're actually in a depression. Okay. You can put whatever label you want on it. Prices are through the roof. They're up 40, 50, 60% higher than they were 2 years ago. Doesn't matter what you want to label it as. The lower income and middle class are getting crushed. Even the upper middle class is now getting crushed. Our day-to-day businesses, our services that we all love and have come to love. Like I love going to a restaurant and eating dinner, especially at my restaurants that are owned by friends. And they're getting destroyed because no one wants to work. And on top of that, the salaries that people are making now because of the cost and the rising cost of everything, you now have people that have had solid incomes that are living at poverty level. Right. And then if you look at credit card debt actually went up last quarter. So I don't care about what someone labels this as. I just kind of look at what's happening in the day to day and with people on the streets and businesses across the board, especially locally, because we sit and talk with business owners every day. It doesn't matter, big business, small business, whatever. Like if you're a large corporation like Apple, sure, you can get by. But if you're a small business owner or mid business owner, you're getting, especially in the service industry, they're getting crushed right now. So I think people are waking up to the fact of what's really going on. The fact of the matter is we are in a recession and we're probably closer to a depression and everyone's afraid to talk about it. And I think it's just absolutely comical that they redefined it. Oh, we're not in a recession. Okay. 2 quarters down, you're still losing. GDP's down, production's down. It doesn't matter how you dress up the pig. It's not good.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of pain points. And like we said before, it's, for people in that traditional asset allocation model and the 60-40 stocks, bonds, cash, you're going to get crushed and you're getting crushed. And a lot of people are starting to feel that now. I saw on Bloomberg this morning, bonds across the board are all down double digits, right? Munis are down. Yep. The global ag's down 12.6, I think it was. That's supposed to be your safe money. So, if you're out there and you're not making changes or haven't made changes to date, like you got to do something now. Otherwise, it could be catastrophic. It's like walking a tightrope. Right. Pray to God they go back to money printing, but even if they do at this point, it's like if you're not in the right position, it won't pay off anyways.
All right, so that makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. What'd you say? Sorry.
I said not to be so doom and gloom.
Right. Well, let's switch it over to the crypto markets now and really raise people's spirits.
Yeah, right. Since the middle of June, we're up 50-60%, which is nice from the bottom.
Right. Since we last spoke about the markets, they've really been fluctuating. Bitcoin's been fluctuating within the $4,000 between 20 and 24 grand, and Ethereum is about $400 range. So we really have seen like a steady increase and just overall plateau of the prices right now. Do we expect this to stay the same until at least Ethereum merges?
We're having higher lows. Just have to make sure we don't break 1325-ish. Around that area is the previous low of last week. So if we go below that, then that's when you could see a retest of the 800s. But no, everything's looking good. Accumulation phase in here. I know the end of option market for Ether for the end of September, for the end of the quarter, is looking around 25 to 2,800. So it's on pace for that.
Very nice. And what about Bitcoin? What do you any thoughts on the Bitcoin market right now?
Similar thing. And we're holding, it's just in the accumulation phase. It's very interesting on how everything's holding up. We said a couple weeks ago, macroeconomically, I didn't think it should keep falling, right? But
Right.
for some reason, we're holding in there, and it's amazing. So don't dwell on it now. Let's just keep going to it. We're in accumulation. You could see a retest maybe of 25, 26 area, and maybe a little bit of a retrace back down. But the big push would be around the 26, 28. If we break that, then and hold, then we're on our bounce back up.
And if you think it ever goes back down below 20, do you think it's going to stay below 20 for a while, or do you think it's just going to
A while
come
as
back
in what?
fast?
What is a while in definition?
3
3,
days.
6 months, 3 years,
3 days.
3 days. Oh yeah, it could go down and stay down for 3 days for sure. But no, look at any of the big dumps. There's always on the daily candle, once there's a bottom hit, there's always a big green candle that takes it all the way back up to where it was, right? When we hit 17, the next daily candle brought it all the way back up to 20. So no, if it dumps, it's not going to stay down there very long. We'll probably retrace back up to low 19s, high 20 or mid 20s.
I have, Alex Krieger, I have a question for you, and kind of a talking point, because I think this is a lot of the chatter out there on Twitter and LinkedIn and yada yada yada. They're talking a lot about the decorrelation between Bitcoin and the NASDAQ QQQ, if you will, the NASDAQ 100 index. Do you think we finally hit the point where digital assets and cryptocurrencies kind of separate themselves from technology and investments, or
I would hope so. It's very frustrating to see whatever US equities is doing that day is how the crypto market tends to portray out, right? And it would be great for it to decorrelate off. And yes, it is happening, but I tend to see it more with the Ether BTC correlation and the flippening happening. Does that make sense a little bit? Right? So the value of Ether has gone up while BTC has stayed the same, right? In relevant percentage wise, right?
Sure.
So
That's true.
BTC ripped and hit 17 whatever a couple weeks ago, and BTC was sitting at 20,000.
Right.
So, and you can just tell by the BTC ETH pairing set that they have. I think it's up, let me look and double check, but I think it's up like 100% since the dump.
There you go. Did you see who's the head of Ethereum? What's his name again?
Valtech, Vitalik.
Did you see he called Michael Saylor a clown?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny you mentioned his name this morning, because didn't he just step down from MicroStrategy as CEO too today?
Yeah, he's I forgot the specific title of it, but he is just gonna be the head of Bitcoin acquisition at MicroStrategy.
Interesting.
So I think it's more focused on the finances of focusing on the finances of the company, and the accumulation there and the management of it there. Because obviously it affects stock price, right? Because
Yep, and probably the board wasn't happy or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm just sick and tired of running a company.
Well, it's interesting. All the other than Elon right now, all the other big people that were in Bitcoin did dump most of it or are like Jack Dorsey, he resigned from Twitter, right? And he stepped away to go do more Bitcoin stuff. You're saying Michael Saylor is going to be doing only Bitcoin stuff on the financial side for MicroStrategy. I heard Kathy Wood, one of her main ETFs with all the Bitcoin got broken down and dispersed, you know what I mean? Got rid of. They don't have that ETF anymore last month as well. So a lot of these big players are leaving. I know, and Elon even took a big loss on his Bitcoin, their Bitcoin trade last month.
He has to pay for Twitter.
I'm just saying, just putting that out there. It's just kind of ironic that it's happening. It must be important some way.
No, and it's kind of funny because Tesla said they dumped some, they didn't dump all, right?
Yes, there's like 40 or 50 million worth they dumped, I think.
Right. So Michael Saylor is now focused specifically on Bitcoin. Kathy Wood's project is taking a little bit of a different turn, but she's still big on Bitcoin.
Same with Jack Dorsey, the Twitter. He stepped back to do the Lightning Network last year, right?
Right.
He stepped down. So they're all transitioning over and trying to probably beat who's going to be in the payment system, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. What was the other thing I saw yesterday? Something else was really big that's going to happen in Bitcoin too.
Well, last year in 2021, I think I was reading, I think it said $7 billion were transacted on the Ethereum network or something in transactions, which is more than Visa.
Correct. And actually, the European Central Bank came out and said, hey, by the way, these crypto platforms like Bitcoin are faster, safer, and more secure than your traditional banking platforms in terms of money movement.
Yep.
And then the Colombia, the country of Colombia, came out and said today, actually, that they are now going to list land titles on the Ripple or XRP platform.
Is it the XL Ledger or whatever, the X Ledger or whatever? I think it was called.
And it's going to unwind a complete mess that land titles have caused and ownership issues that they've had in the country because it's just been such a mess over the past 100 years.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to tie with when I went down to Atlanta and I spoke in front of a large group of real estate agents, and I said, hey, listen, if you're not adapting to blockchain, here's kind of the future you're looking at. And your real estate attorney and your lender are all out of business in 5 years. Like it's really wild to see what's happening in that market. It is going to take everything over now.
Right. I mean, this was always we're still in the beginning stages of what the blockchain technology can really do.
Right.
And we're seeing.
Yep.
Right. So
it's trucking along day by day.
By day, and it's not going anywhere.
Nope.
It's
like Pandora's box. Once it's open, there's no closing it.
Yeah.
No going back.
No going back. Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else within either the crypto or the traditional financial markets that we want to bring to light or talk about at all? Or
I would say in the traditional space, we're in August now, getting into September. What we share with people is listen, tax planning starts in September. It doesn't start in January, right? So if you're someone out there who's high net worth, high income, entrepreneur, business owner, like you need to be planning for your 2022 taxes now, right? Like, for example, we got a referral 2 days ago. Hey, selling 10 properties, have a massive capital gains that I have to manage. Awesome. We can do that for you, right? So instead of forking out whatever the number is to the IRS, you can do some things to mitigate that and keep as much cash in your pocket. And we can get that number as close to zero as you want and you're comfortable with while keeping cash in your pocket. Right? That's important. And now is the time to do that. So if you're out there and you're not thinking about your taxes, especially if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, an investor, someone who's a high income earner, like this is something you need to jump on now, because your opportunities to offset your income via different investment vehicles, retirement plans, et cetera, have to happen by year end. You can't wait until January and then cut a check to Uncle Sam and, you know, watch your money go out the window. So if I was to have, you know, that one recommendation there would just be that, like, you know, it's tax planning season. It starts now after Labor Day, and make sure everyone out there knows their options and takes advantage of them by year end.
Awesome. All right, I guess I'll just say some closing statements and we'll be good. So if you have any questions, please comment or email us. Please visit our website at twinshoreswm.com. We are currently in the process of doing a huge rebranding, as you could probably tell from the new backgrounds and logo. Let us know what you guys think of it, and please just like, subscribe, and share.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.